I've mentioned before that the Infidel has a really unique spring system with a separate spring for the extension and the retraction. So let's finally show what's going on in here. It's been probably 10 years since I pulled one of these apart. So you'll have to bear with me a little bit. But I seem to remember there being something about the last step in reassembly was putting the trigger back on with these roll pins and it being a whole lot easier and cleaner taking it apart without the trigger installed. So those push out from one side. I did that with a T5, the proper tool for the job. I could have gotten a drift punch the right size out of the garage, but that would have been too easy. You can see that trigger engages with a pair of lugs coming through from the slider plate. And then we've got 6 T6 screws here. All right. So you can see we've got our very juicy aluminum chassis. I may have overlubed that. This is your slider plate. You can see it's this big skeletonized piece here. And you can see how you've got this guide rod running up and down, and that is actually engaging with 2 different springs for your extension and your retraction. So let's see, when you slide it up, if you slide it up, you would be applying tension to the top one. As you slide it up, it's going to compress that top spring, and then when the sear releases, going to flick the blade out. And then in the other direction, when you're going to retract the blade, it's going to compress this bottom spring because it's going to be hooked on the blade up here, and then the sears are going to release and kick the blade back down. It's a really, really unique spring system. I can't think of any other OTF that has a spring system like that. And then let's see if I can get this cover plate off without shooting the little tiny sears all over the place. This uses a set of 12. Shoot, I think it might be 12 stacked sheet metal, like hardened steel, but sheet metal sears. And now it's 4. I was confusing this with something else. There is your blade. Big old chunky blade stops on there, and guide ribs. No, it's 4 sears, 4 thin sears down here underneath. Can I get that to lift out? Where's that slide out? Anyway, here we go. You can see that is one of your bottom sears. That's your other bottom sear for the closed position. You can see those extend all the way up to here, and that is where your little leg on the slider plate is going to come up here, slide up that, and trigger the two sears at the same time. This is also what makes the Infidel somewhat unique, is that it does have two locking sears in both the open and closed position. There's not a whole lot of OTFs that have used a dual sear setup because the timing of both the sears sometimes can be tricky. Actually, see, focus. That sear is a little munched up from me doing some testing with this back in the day. Wow. Yeah. This Infidel does fail a hard stab test sometimes, and that is probably why. But I bet if I take this all the way down, I could probably swap those two sears. I wonder if that's... I don't think it's captured. I think it's just very snug with all the screws still being tight. You can see how they had to notch away the standoffs here. I wonder if that is... I bet there was a problem with the blade contacting the standoff sometimes during travel. Like the Pentagon OTF, there was a big problem with that, it beating its own edges up internally during travel. Interesting. Huh. So yeah, like I mentioned, it's a very, very unique setup with this dual spring separate for the extension and retraction mechanism, and the 4 locking sears make it a pretty unique animal. So I don't think I'll bore you guys with me tearing that down the rest of the way and swapping the open and closed sears, and wrap it up here. Relatively short, under 8 minutes. I hope you guys enjoyed this look at the Benchmade Infidel and what makes it a pretty unique animal. And I will catch you guys tomorrow. Hope everyone has a good day.